Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. I know I can see people joining as we speak. So I'm Jill Standeven, and I work for Visit Florida here in the UK. It's really, really nice to have you all here. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to start sharing my screen now, and I'll start to present to you an overview of Florida. Hope you can all see that, because I can see my screen now, but I can't see you. So I am just trusting that you can all see and hear me okay. So so as I say, my name's Jill Standeven. Thank you all so much for joining me today. What I'd like to talk to you about is perhaps going beyond the expected of Florida, and what Florida has to offer outside of the theme parks and of the beaches. Before I do that, though, let's just go over a quick overview of the geography of the state. Before we start, what's really good to know is it's way, way bigger than anybody ever gives it credit for. I mean, we have Orlando in the middle. That's where most people go, and that's when most people stay, to be honest. And it's no wonder it's the theme park capital of the world. But our research shows us that if a first-timer stays outside of Orlando for 1 or 2 nights, they're 5 times more likely to repeat book. So it really, really is in your best interest to book a multi-center for your customers. Down in the southeast, we've got Miami, a melting pot of art, culture, and nightlife. The West Coast, on the West Coast, that's the Gulf Coast of Mexico. And you're talking about white powder sands and stunning sunsets. And then on our East Coast, we have the Atlantic coast, which is fantastic for beautiful sunrises, surfing, adrenaline beach sports, boogie boarding, that sort of thing. So a great, great option for families with active children. Down in the south, we have the Keys. The Keys is a string of islands, over 100 islands, actually. And here you'll get a completely different pace of life. In fact, when you get to Key West, which is the southernmost point of the United States, you're closer to Cuba than you are to any US city. And then another part of Florida that a lot of people don't even think even is in Florida is the Northwest, also known as the Panhandle or the Emerald Coast. And up there, what you'll get there is beaches that are uncrowded, untouched, and completely undiscovered. So we are the theme park capital of the world. 6 of the top 20 theme parks in the world are based in Orlando. So it's no wonder that people go to Orlando and they don't get anywhere else. But what our advice would be is don't try and do them all. It will just wear you out. Maybe pick 2, do those really well, and then get out and see what else the state has to offer. That way you won't come home exhausted, and it's also a cheaper way to do it. And as I said, our beaches, with the 2 coastlines that I discussed earlier on, the Atlantic coast and the Gulf Coast, it means that we've got 850 miles of award-winning beaches. In fact, TripAdvisor's top 20 beaches in the US, 8 of them are in Florida. And when you think of the size of the United States, that's pretty cool. And actually, when you go to TripAdvisor's top beaches in the world, St. Pete Beach is number 5, and it's the only US entry. But once you get away from the beaches, or if you want to find out what else there is in the state, what we would say is once you've had your nights in Orlando, hire a car. And actually, Florida has 26 designated scenic highways. The driving out there is really easy. The grid system makes it really easy to navigate. And it's not just big multi-lane freeways. As I say, 26 designated scenic highways across the state. And these are designated for their beauty, their cultural interest. Probably the most popular ones in the north, we have the Scenic 30A, which takes you all along that northwest coastline that I just talked about. In the south, we have the Florida Keys Scenic Highway, which takes you all along the Keys. And in fact, at some points, you're driving on bridges and it feels like you're flying over the ocean. It's absolutely incredible road trip. On the east, the Highway A1A, which goes from Miami all the way up the East Coast. In fact, if you carried on, or if you took that road, in the end, you'd actually get to New York, all the way up the East Coast of America. And on the west coast, it's the Tamiami Trail Road, which takes you all the way through those Gulf Coast beach communities as well. So a really, really great option for road trips as well. And on your road trips, what can you get to see? Well, the scenery around Florida is absolutely stunning. What a lot of people don't realize is that outside of our man-made parks, we have some amazing natural parks as well. In fact, we have 175 state parks, 700 natural springs. We've got state trails. We have 3 national parks, 2 national seashores, and a national preserve. So you're never more than 30 minutes drive away from some stunning, stunning scenery. And my personal favorite, or the thing that makes Florida really, really unique, is our 400 miles of natural spring waters. It's in fact the longest network of, or the largest network of spring waters in the whole world. And the waters just stay this lovely this lovely warm temperature. So it makes them ideal for stand-up paddleboarding, tubing, swimming, or just really hanging out in the water. But the absolute best place to experience these natural spring waters is up in Crystal River in the Three Sisters Springs National Park. And this is the only place in the world where you can legally swim with our favorite local, the manatee. And in fact, the conservation program up in Crystal River means that the manatees have gone from the endangered species list to the protected species list. What we would say is a 1 or 2 night add-on from Orlando. Crystal River is only about an hour and a half northwest of Orlando. Get up there the night before, stay at the Plantation Inn, and then get up really early in the morning for your manatee interaction. They're most active in the mornings, and it's a really, really cool thing to do. Probably our other most iconic national park would be the Everglades National Park. 1.5 acres of biodiversity. It's the only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles coexist, because of the fresh water and the seawater. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the backwaters of the Everglades actually starts up in central Florida. So you can do an airboat ride only 20 minutes away from Orlando. And another one of our national parks, which people aren't really familiar with, is the Dry Tortugas. Now, this is about 60 miles west of Key West. You can only get there by boat or by seaplane, and they only let about 150 people onto these islands every day. And they're absolutely amazing for scuba diving. But if you're really, really adventurous, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when they let all the other tourists go home, there's a campground there. It's got about 20 camp pitches on it. It's very, very basic. But once the sun sets, you will get the most amazing stargazing light show, because there's no light pollution out there at all. So it really is that sort of once in a lifetime experience that you're not going to get anywhere else in the world. As well as of all our natural beauty, we also have way more history and culture than probably anybody gives us credit for. Museums, galleries, landmarks, lighthouses, and street art absolutely everywhere. Picking out just some of my favorites. An hour east of Orlando is Kennedy Space Center. And every day on Kennedy Space Center, there's an astronaut on site to answer any of your burning questions. Did you know that there's only 526 people in the world that have been up in space? And every day there's one of those guys at Kennedy Space Center. Their Dine with an Astronaut program is about $30 extra to the gate price. You sit and you have lunch and you listen to this astronaut's personal experience about their space mission, and then at the end of your lunch they open it up to question and answers. So if you've got a family with a kid who's completely space crazy, it's just again a once in a lifetime experience. There's so many of them in Florida, to be honest. And then up in the northwest in Pensacola, this is a really cool museum as well, the National Naval Aviation Museum. And it's not just for those that are into aeroplanes, it's also the home of the Blue Angels. Now, the Blue Angels are the America's equivalent of the Red Arrows. And top tip for you, they practice every Wednesday. So on a Wednesday, you can pitch up your deck chair on Pensacola Beach and you get a live air show just while you're sat there on this beautiful, pristine beach. So very Top Gun-esque. And then another really cool place to visit is the Ringling Museum. Now, this is home of this was once the winter residence of the Ringling family. The Ringling family were a very, very famous traveling circus. So think The Greatest Showman, that kind of thing. And they had this amazing mansion and they had these amazing parties there. It's now been given over to the state, and as well as being a really, lovely stately home to walk around, there's also a circus museum here. So why not enroll in clown school or learn to fly the trapeze while you're on holiday in Florida? And wherever you are in a downtown area where there was once a plain brick wall, an artist will have now done an amazing mural on it. One of the best places to see street art in Florida is a place called Wynwood Walls in Miami. Now, this was an industrial wasteland which they built breeze block walls on, and they invited American artists from all over America to come and just put their street art onto there. So and as a result of that, it's developed into this really cool hub with coffee shops, tap rooms, art hub with lots of live events. It's a really good place to spend an afternoon and to top up your Instagram account with lots of amazing pictures. And then just moving on to the cuisine in Florida, there's a misconception that it's all chain restaurants and fast food, but actually the second biggest industry after tourism in Florida is agriculture. So there's a real farm to fork culture. And depending on where you are in the state will depend on what influences come into play in the food. You get restaurants where the chefs are really, really passionate about the provenance of their food. So up in the Northwest, you'll get this really wholesome soul food like grandma used to make. And down in the South, you'll get the Latin influences coming in. And wherever you are with 1,250 miles of coastline, you're going to get the most freshest seafood you've ever imagined. Now, people associate Florida with key lime pie, but did you also know it's the home of the Cuban sandwich? It's highly contested whether the Cuban sandwich was invented in Tampa or Miami, but it is 100% Floridian nonetheless. It was originally the lunchtime choice of immigrant workers, and over the years, different immigrants have put their different flavor into it. So the bread is from Cuba, the salami is from Italy, the cheese is from Switzerland, and the pickles are from Germany. So it's as diverse as the state of Florida itself. So make sure you pick up a Cuban sandwich when you're in Florida. And if you're feeling a bit thirsty, Florida has over 200 craft ale breweries. In fact, we're actually thinking about renaming the Gulf Coast to the Gulp Coast. So the best place probably to experience some of those would be along the Gulf Coast or Clearwater, St. Pete's and Tampa. So make sure you get yourself onto a brewery trip, preferably one with transport included, and you can do a beer hopping experience of all the different breweries in the area. And also, wherever you are in Florida with the temperature, there's so much outdoor dining to be had. This is Sparkman's Wharf, which is down by the cruise terminal in Tampa. And this is where up-and-coming chefs rent out a shipping container and they pitch against each other. They're competing for a pop-up space downtown. So you get some really, really cool and different cuisines and different food types. So a really cool place to hang out. And with all of the coastline I've talked about, beachside dining, what better than to watch the sunset with the sand between your toes and enjoying a meal or a beer. This restaurant here is one of my all-time favorites. It's the Sambar in Anna Maria Island. And every night here, they do a sweepstake so that you bet by the second what time the sun's going to go down. And whoever gets the closest time gets their drinks bought for them on the house. It's a really cool place to hang out. So I hope I've kind of whetted your appetite. If you want to know more, there are loads of online resources that we can offer to you. Your first stop would be our online training program at visitfloridatravelpro.com. We have 4 chapters to go through, and they all take about 20 minutes each, no more than 20 minutes. You can dip in and dip out of them as much as you want, and once you've finished them, that content is there for you to download and to keep. We also asked our Travel Pro graduates what else they would like to know about, and we listened to them, and we came up with these 3 specialization modules last year as well. So road trips, ecotourism, and LGBTQ. We also have masses of information on our website, so please do visit that. And finally, on the move, if you're on the move, then you can download our Visit Florida app, and you've got all of the information to your fingertips there as well. That's also consumer facing, so if your customers want to download that, they're free to do that as well, and they can use that as a point of reference whilst they're on their holiday. So that's me. That's me in a nutshell. I could talk all afternoon, but lucky for you, I'm not going to. Any questions?
Thanks, Jill. Although, yes, you've made us feel hungry once again by talking about all of that lovely food immediately before lunch. Quite sad I don't have a Cuban sandwich downstairs. One quick question from me. I was really interested in the Kennedy Space Center lunch with an astronaut concept. Is that what you get with standard entry, or is that like a VIP package that you'd book to have the lunch with the astronaut?
It's an extra. It's extra to the gate entry. I think it's around $35, but you can book that through most of the ticket suppliers. So do something different. They all have that add-on. Yeah, and it's a great experience. I mean, there's probably about 100 people. It's not a candlelit dinner for 2 experience, but it is really, really cool to hear that astronaut's personal experience. And as I say, they open the floor to questions at the end, and any burning questions they'll answer.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. We have already run over by a couple of minutes, so I will bring it to a close there and say thank you very much, Jill, for that whistle-stop tour around Florida. That was awesome.